Well, the former product out of Alabama has just returned to the scene, recovering from the blood clots after the whole entire crap show from 2023 to 2024, hoping to make another breakout season. But in this video, we're going to talk about Patriots defensive tackle who was an Alabama product, Christian Barmore, why he made a strong statement for why he's this dominant force for the defense ahead of training camp, and we're going to be reacting some of his plays from his breakout season in 2023 and why he's still this it factor coming up here on the NE Patriots Talk. Next, let's go. Well, we're back with another edition here of the NE Patriots Talk channel. It's your boys DTN and Dustin back with another one. And today, as I mentioned before, we will be discussing Christian Barmore and why he is still that it factor for the defense. So we're going to start off with that article that I found on Patriots Wire, and then we're going to take a look at some of the 6 plays from that 2023 breakout season. So how are we doing today, Dustin?
Doing pretty good. Kind of had to do these plays last minute. Been having a bit of a busy weekend. Was able to get some decent amount of plays. Ready to review them. Ready to review this article. And I'm happy to hear Barmore's back. I'm ready to see how he does this 2025 season.
Exactly. I'm so excited to see what Barmore can do after dealing with all of the blood clots last season. Even though he managed to have some production in spite of that blood clots, but it just wasn't enough. And I felt like the previous regime last season did a disservice to Christian Barmore. Like, he should have been on IR for the entire season for allowing him to recover, and instead of like playing during garbage time. So it is what it is. But Before we get started, please make sure that you smash the like button and hit subscribe. It's completely free and helps support the channel. And as you come into the show, please bring in your questions and your comments. We would like to read them throughout the stream. Just get out your thoughts on Christian Barmore or maybe the Patriots in general. Yeah, but let's get this started and let's take a look at this article. I think that this article just summarizes what has been going on with Christian Barmore. And this was written by Danny Jaylett for Patriots Wire. So we all know that Christian Barmore is ready to make a comeback after dealing with blood clots. And in the season prior, when there were so many injuries on defense, Christian Barmore stepped it up. He had an impressive career with like 8.5 sacks, 6 pass deflections, and 64 tackles and 1 forced fumble. And it seemed like he seemed to finally be maturing into one of the best young defensive tackles in the league and is determined to get back to that point under Mike Vrabel and the newly constructed defense. And here are some of the quotes that I found, and this was per Mike Reese in one of his articles. He said that Barmore had a lot of fire in his heart, and after that situation, people forget who I am. So, what is there a reason for why people forget who Christian Barmore is?
I mean, it kind of comes down to one of those like, "What have you done for me lately?" type of situations. It's the fact that they just hadn't seen him too much. You got to think he was gone for a really long time with those blood clots, and after a while, people, I guess especially for a guy in Barmore's case who hadn't already been in the league that long, you don't see someone for a long enough period, they're gonna kind of just it's gonna kind of go into the back of your mind. But when you actually look at the plays that he has made, and especially like for me going through some of the highlights, you kind of get a reminder of who Barmore is as a player and even more as a person. And it is a shame that there are people who just haven't had him on their minds. And it's also going to be a little bit more of it's also going to be a little more difficult for him now with the defensive additions that we have on the defense now. We got so many other names. But that doesn't mean you should just outright forget him. I mean, the dude has been a unit on the defense, and he's just going to become an even more unit with the pieces that he has around him now. I'm excited to see what he can do.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do with the new and a better supporting cast and a better defensive coaching, because we all know during the I'm not going to say his name's era, and then Covington and then that Covington as a defensive coordinator. I felt like the first 2 seasons with Barmore, yeah, he was an unknown guy. We all thought he would be like a bust because of this guy's track record of drafting. But I felt like 2023, where it was a complete disaster, it was a train wreck. I felt like he stepped up when it mattered the most, even though we had by far one of the worst rosters in the NFL. So like
he was one of our bright spots. I mean, he really made the most of his chances. He made the most plays that he could. And now with him having a unit around him, I mean, he's going to have a lot more to look forward to. He's going to be able to make a lot more plays, some more sacks, some more run stops, some more pass swats. It's going to be I feel like you're going to hear his name a good little bit. Even with the defensive additions that we had, you're going to hear his name quite a bit in the 2025 season.
Yeah, exactly. And especially the new defensive coordinator is Terrell Williams, who has a great track record when it comes to like developing particularly defensive linemen, especially when he had Jeffrey Simmons, he had Harold Landry, who is now with the squad. He had Zadarius Smith, he had Aiden Hutchinson during that one season as a Detroit Lions defensive line coach, excuse me. So I'm really excited to see what he can do with Christian Barmore, and also him pairing up with Milton Williams, because it seems like in the past, Christian Barmore had like some mediocre defensive tackles that weren't like the worst, but they weren't the best. I think he had like Lawrence Guy next to him, he had like Gotcha next to him, and then so on and so forth. So do you think that Barmore has like a better supporting cast and like a better defensive coaching around him?
Oh yeah, 100%. To start it off with the coaching, I mean, you went from a guy in Covington who was a first-year defensive coordinator to Terrell Williams, who not only has been in the defensive coordinator game or been on the defensive side for a while, has been under Mike Vrabel for a long time, and has worked very well with him. So that alone, being a supporting cast, is a huge step up as far as like coaching and just playmaking in general. But then you also got your guys, like you alluded to, with Milton Williams. You got some edge rushers in like Keon White and Harold Landry. You got a good secondary in Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez. You got you just got so much more on the defense, so many other names that offenses are gonna have to plan for. I feel like that's gonna actually play, and maybe you'll agree with me on this. Maybe some people in the chat might disagree. Maybe y'all agree. I don't know. But I feel like this is gonna play to Barmore's advantage this season. He's been out for a good little while. I mean, yeah, he played all of 2023. I forget exactly how long he was out for in the 2024 season. Don't really have a whole lot of tape on him. So with so many other pieces around him, he might get overlooked, and he's going to be able to make more plays than some of these other guys on defense are going to be able to do, because there's more tape and they've had a bigger standing in the league because they've been around more. I feel like Barmore is going to get overlooked, and it's just going to add that much more fuel to him. Not only help him make more plays, but it's going to add more fuel to him. It's going to want him to be able to prove himself even more, and he's going to want to be able to put his name out there. So I'm expecting a good season from him this year.
Yeah, exactly. Especially that after his impressive season in 2023, he proved to himself that he was worthy of getting that contract extension. I think it was like a 4-year. Let me check the contract if I'm not mistaken. So it was a 4-year, $83 million deal, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's a 4-year, $83 million deal. So he, because of what he has done for in 2023, I think he he earned that contract rightly, compared to like all the other players who shouldn't have got some of these contract extensions or contract renewals, because there could have been some players that could have been let go, but at the end of the day, solely with Christian Barmore, he was like a key. He was like a key factor for the defense, even though he was drafted under this guy's name. I just feel like with under Mike Vrabel, I think that Vrabel will find new ways to ignite him, find new ways to make him disgustingly good. So that's what I'm really excited for with Christian Barmore. But let's continue looking at the article, and it was also reported that ever since that he participated in the spring practice with no fear of a setback to the blood clots, it's clear that he's ready to go mentally and physically, and that's what I love to hear. However, there will be moments that he could suffer some injury, but I just hope that he stays healthy regardless of the blood clots or not, because this is the same. Because if I'm not mistaken, it's not the same blood clots that David Andrews had, right? Because I know that David Andrews had different kind of blood clots.
Yeah, I think David Andrews is the one who actually had them in his lungs, if I remember correctly. Which is that is a whole different scenario. That's a little bigger health risk. That's recovering from those and treating them is just a whole other ball game. I do believe Barmore, if I remember correctly, had him in his knee or his left leg, somewhere like that. But yeah, for David Andrews, he was gone for, I think, the whole, I forget which season it was, but he was out a whole year, and I think some that following season as well. And blood clots, I mean, regardless of where they are, they're no joke. But in the lungs, that's a whole different field, a whole different ball game.
Yeah. If I'm okay, so I'm taking a look right now, and it says that he did experience blood clots in his right calf. So it's different from where David Andrews had, which was in his lungs. So we all know that the blood clots in his right calf were discovered after a medical staff member noticed his calf was larger than the other. This led to an emergency room visit and further evaluation at Mass General Brigham. The blood clots were initially discovered during training camp, leading to him being placed on the non-football injury list. Regardless if he had that one sack last season, did you think that Barmore should have been placed on IR for the entire season, or would have been? Yeah.
Yes, I would have. As soon as I would have heard blood clots, I would have, regardless of how severe it was, how early they caught it, that entire year he should have sat out. I mean, I'm not extensive in the whole medical field, so I can't say for certain like how exactly they handle it, how long they can last for, what the severity is, all that stuff. But I do know blood clots are a pretty scary thing to have, and especially in a sport like football, where if he was to have gotten tackled in the wrong way, if someone was like grab his calf or his foot, could have caused way more damage than it could have been a career-altering, maybe a career-ending injury. I mean, you just never know with stuff like this. So I get when you feel good to go and the doctors are clearing you and all that. I mean, you want to be back out there, especially as young as he is. You want to be out there. You want to make plays. You want to be able to make money. I get that. But it's not worth the risk of your health. I mean, that goes back to like my whole thing with the whole Tua situation with all his concussions and stuff he was getting. I'm not going to go too much into detail of that, but that man should have retired. That's my gist on it. But the point being, they really need to prioritize these players' health, even when they feel good to go, even when their doctors are clearing them. It doesn't help to just be a little extra cautious, because just one wrong step, career-ending injury, and we don't want that.
Yeah, I agree with 100% with what you said, because I felt like the coaching staff, or maybe the strength and coaching staff or maybe the medical staff should know about. Well, the medical staff knew about this, but I think the coaching staff, I think they jumped the gun way too ahead, and I think that regardless if he was ready or not, I would have sat him out completely, because that season was I think it was already like a rebuilding season. It was already a season of rebuilding, so it was pointless to bring Barmore out when we already know that we're not going to even make the playoffs or even win the division. So I felt like that was on the coaching staff's fault, because if Mayo or Covington knew, or maybe Elliott Wolf knew about this and took extra precautions about this, it would have been a different story, and Christian Barmore would have been ready for the 2025 season rather than, making all these stupid moves, and then, that got Mayo canned. So I just hope and pray that he performs well regardless of the blood clots, because players after coming back from an injury tend to regress, but let's just hope that's not the case.
Well, we also got to think this isn't exactly an injury per se. This is more, it's more of an I'm not even sure you want to classify it as an illness, but it's not really so much an injury kind of thing. I mean, this is a medical condition that can happen really to anybody. It's not something easy to catch. I don't know exactly how how easily preventable it is, if at all. But stuff like that is just something you got to be extra cautious for. I mean, injuries are one thing, but when you have illness and stuff like this, you need to take all the extra precautions possible. I can't remember too much of the whole 2024 season, because I mean that these last two seasons has kind of been one of those situations you just want to forget, right? But
yeah,
I mean, I can't remember if he played a little bit or he came back. I want to say he came back the last little bit of the 2024 season. I'm not too sure if I'm remembering that correctly. If you can correct me on that.
I think he got back during like the I think it was during like sometime around like the second half of the season, but like it was either after the Dolphins game or the Colts game, they put him back on IR, which I felt like that was one of the stupidest decisions I've ever heard. Like, playing him,
he never should have gotten. I mean, even if it was, whatever it was, he started early in the season and then got taken out because they didn't catch or didn't think it was a big issue, or if it was like in the later season where he got cleared. Something like that is just something I want them. Injuries, you kind of have like your whole process, your protocols, how you heal from that, how you recover from that, and when you can get back on the field. Stuff like blood clots are kind of an anomaly. You don't really know a whole lot about them. You don't really know like what it is that causes them, what to prevent them, or how to help a player recover. That's probably a more expertise area in the medical field. Probably some specialist, something like that. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm getting these coughs today. Dang. But I would have rather had him out, because I mean you're already looking at him as one of your key pieces in the 2024 season and further on in the future. To put him out there at any point in that season where it was already a downhill season, where he was already dealing with the blood clots, could have possibly got himself hurt even more trying to protect that blood clot or something. I wouldn't have put him out there. I just would have kept him out for the entire year, make sure the recovery's done right and correctly. Even as a specialist was clear, I'm just be like, well, we got like 4 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever it was into the season. We're already on the downhill side. Winning a couple games isn't going to change much. We'll just keep you out the season. We'll keep you practice. We'll keep you healthy. We'll keep you warm. But we're not going to put you in on the field. We're not going to risk an injury or risk something happening that could be a career-altering event for you. We're just going to do it this way for the rest of the season.
Yeah, I think
if Mayo would have done that alone could have possibly kept him in New England, even if not as a head coach, but as some sort of a head coach assistant or back on the defense or something.
Yeah, I felt like that was a I think that Mayo should have known about this, because when the symptoms re-aggravate for some reason, you should have like sat him out for like the entire season, let him recover, let him just rest, because why risk him when you know that he could potentially have these symptoms again. So I feel like Barmore, regardless if he was like a keystone player for us, I did not like the idea of playing Barmore and then not knowing that he would have symptoms again and put him back in IR for the rest of the season. Like, that was one of the dumbest decisions from the coaching staff. Like, he started off last season on the reserve or non football injury list to begin the season, and then he was activated on November 16th. But then sometime on December 19th, so that was after the Cardinals game, I think that was, he was placed back on the reserve non-football list due to reoccurring systems. Like, that was just lunacy from Mayo and Wolf.
I feel like that could have easily been prevented had they just kept him out the entire season. Make sure they didn't come back. Make sure they were doing everything correctly. Have a protocol in place. Like,
it was sickening to our stomachs, and we had no choice but to.
You could have dang near cost us a key player for our future as New England. Not even about that, but he could have ruined the young man's life. Like, you could have easily just ended his career right there prematurely. Like that. That's just.
Yeah, regardless if that was one of the reasons for why Mayo should have never been a head coach, there were other multiple reasons, but we just want to focus on Barmore. But we're now going to head over to the phase that we're going to be taking a look at some of his highlights, and it was a hard time looking at some of the Alabama plays, but we're just going to focus on the 2023 Patriots highlights, and this is coming from a video from Boston Sports Media. You can check it out on YouTube, and at the end of the live stream, I will be posting some like timestamps, so like you can see if you want to see a certain play for us to break down. Yeah, you don't have to like, just watch the whole entire thing. You can just go to that timestamp and just watch that particular breakdown if you want. So without further ado, let's start off with the first play, and this one was week 3 against the Jets. So this was the play.
So to kind of give y'all a bit of a description here on this play, Barmore's line, I also got some notes here on the right from my own personal note taking from watching the plays. But starting off here, Barmore's lined up against the Jets facing, I believe he was going against either the center or the left guard. At the snap, Barmore started the rush, meeting fairly decent resistance against the center. I believe it was a center. Yeah, maybe just a tad bit of leverage against them, starting to get a bit towards the inside. As he starts making his way inside, he sees where the QB is and see him that he's starting to look a certain direction and is getting his throw motion ready. He can tell he's getting ready to make the pass. So seeing he's not going to be able to get to the QB in time, does the next best thing. Gets his hands up. Gets him right in the way of whatever direction that he's getting ready to throw the ball in. Gets that hand up and is successfully able to not only tip it, but just completely swat the ball, like almost did like a little volleyball thing, just kind of like, wow. It was a nice thing, and not only that, it bounced off one of the players. I think it was Garrett Wilson's helmet it bounced off of, and he was actually almost able to bring it back in for an interception before Garrett was able to swat it away.
Yeah. So let's take a look at that play again. So from this at this point, so this was up against Zach Wilson, as we all know, and this was the final game against Zach Wilson, as far as we know. And this was we all know that in this game, this was one of the more boring games as NFL fans, because nobody wanted to see the Patriots nor the Jets after Aaron Rodgers going down with the ACL, as far as we know. So just to give a bit of a context, and we all know that game was it was like a more of a defensive showing than much of an offensive showing. So it was a low scoring game, but take a look at that play again. We all know who Zach Wilson is. we all know that the Jets don't know how to develop quarterbacks, and Zach Wilson, another victim of one of those. So once again, I felt like even though under Coach Hoodie Tyrants, who I'm going to nickname him, Coach Hoodie Tyrants, I felt like the defense, in spite of how horrible the season was, still looked pretty decent, but that was up against low-tier teams. But up against like these mid-tier to like high-tier, the defense just fell back to earth because of quotes drafting track record as well, as far as we know. So yeah, I really love that play, even though it was against the Jets, and I liked it. And it was
not only the fact that he was able to swat the ball away, but it's the fact that he was actually almost even able to get the interception off of it. Because as you can see, like if you can see it a little bit better right here and this little bit, if you want to play it here, so, you can't really. There's not really a good angle. This is not Barmore right here. I believe this is Dietrich Wise, if I remember correctly. He's over here on the far left side.
And then there's Miles Bryant going at him, and then there's Tavai.
You see the ball, and you see Barmore's hand. He's right there getting ready to get the ball. He just was able to get swatted down on the ground and be a dead ball. It's unfortunate, but it was still a really good play on Barmore's part.
Yeah. Gerard comes in and saying that our defense still rented horribly last season against mid teams and a weak division. Yeah, I agree. Under Covington, jeez, I felt like we all know.
Nobody's saying our defense has been good the last couple seasons. They definitely. We're saying this season could be better. The last couple seasons has not been good at all. You got to think we haven't had the best look in the draft the last few years. Free agency. I mean, Belichick just didn't want to pay anybody, so nobody wanted to come here, especially after Brady left. Like I don't think Belichick realized that was the selling point with this team, was getting people in the building. Was the fact we had a QB like Tom Brady. Tom Brady was in our building. The man who did not give up, the man who did not quit, the man who wanted to win and win and win and win. After that, I mean, you have poor facilities. You're not paying your players. You're having this militaristic type of style of coaching. It just, there wasn't a whole lot of selling points after that. And I think Belichick just kind of went over his head. I mean,
yeah,
wasn't adapting to the times, and it cost us. It cost us a good few years.
Yeah, bringing in guys that he didn't like go outside. He just brought in players or maybe people that he knows, like Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. Those are people that he knows. I felt like during the Mayo era, it was part two of it, because it was like bringing in old players that we all know as coaches. But yeah, I felt like, to give context, I know that I felt like 2020 was like over, because we all know that after the departure of Tom Brady, we all know it was over. And I didn't feel like 2019 we did enough, because our defense up against like top teams like the Ravens or the Texans or the Chiefs. Hell, we even lost to the Dolphins in 2019, and then we all know what happened against Mike Vrabel and his Tennessee Titans at the time. And then 2020, during COVID, it was one of the selling points. Like, we're not gonna even be as good as we once were. And then 2021, if I'm not mistaken, blank overpaid players, which I thought was one of the dumbest decisions. Like, he overpaid for you. And then 2022, we all know what happened. But 2023 was like, I'm done with him. And thank goodness he's gone. But now let's head over to this is week 5 against the Saints. And oh boy, that game was part 2 of that misery in 2023. It was after that Cowboys game. This one was just a disaster. I hated that game. And I can't believe
Thankfully, we do have some bright spots in this game, which is going to be the next play that we go over.
Yep. And this was after we lost Matthew Judon and Christian Gonzalez. Great.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that, too. But coming up on here against the Saints, Barmore here is currently lined up on the far right side of the defensive line. As you'll be able to see on this play, you might be able to see him, you might not be able to see him that well.
Yeah, it's hard to see.
At the start of the play, he immediately starts his rush going up against the left guard of the Saints offensive line here. Barmore's, as you can see, they're doing the run play here. I don't know if you're kind of catching it, but a lot of our defensive line seems to be getting kind of pushed back a little bit. If you kind of want to go back to the start of the play,
yeah. Well, let's just skip that. We want to look at the Saints game. Pass. Okay, the Saints game.
As you can see, like right over here, just on the left side alone, they're kind of being stonewalled if not getting pushed backwards. The right side, you'll see here in a second, is kind of getting pushed around. From what I can tell, Barmore was the only guy that was completely holding his own, just completely, in some cases, was starting to bully the left guard because the left guard just wasn't able to move him at all whatsoever. And being able to do that and hold his ground, not wanting the left guard to take him where he wants, because as you see, he's trying to get an opening for Alvin Kamara there, if that's the correct.
I don't think that was Alvin Kamara. I don't think it was some running back, but I know that
this was the only Saints running back I knew was Alvin Kamara, so that's
same here. That's when
as a result of the play, or as a result of Christian Barmore not being a complete pushover, he's able to lock in his feet. He's able to keep his stance, able to get the left guard out of the way as the running back's coming his way, and is able to get his hand on a running back and stop him for I think it was like a yard or two in total, with the help coming off the edge being Keon White able to get behind him and help bring him down. But Barmore right there, if he was not right there, or Barmore's lined up on another side, I get a feeling that running back probably would have been able to get right through a hole or get through a gap and get a good 5, 6, 7, maybe even 10 yards and get a first down. Barmore started that, which was pretty nice.
The saddest part in that game in general, regardless if Barmore made some plays or not, we allowed 34 points in that game while we scored Nula.
I don't know how the Saints do it. They not only in 2023, but 2024, I think they scored like another 30 bomb on us, which is freaking insane.
I think it was 2021, and this was against... Yeah, it was 2021. It was against Winston. That game...
I don't know what it is about the Saints, but the Saints are able to just score and score and score on our... Even though they get pushed over on a lot of other teams in the NFL, like for some reason recently, Patriots have not been one of those teams. If anything, they're the ones getting pushed around by the Saints, which is just
and the worst part is we're going up against the Saints next season, and we're going.
I ain't worried about it now. We got a way better team. I ain't worried about it now.
Yeah, I'm worried about that overpaid Saints who are in cap space hell. But I just felt like I want to forget about that game. I just wanted to move on. Let's not talk about that game because that game was a crap show as far as we know. But the next game we're going to look, the next game play we're going to look at, and this one was against. Let me find it. This one was up against Buffalo, Week 7, and give you a bit of context. After 3 back-to-back losing games, this was the game that we actually won, thanks to that offense looking decent. But that was because Buffalo regressed a lot. This was Josh Allen.
I remember correctly, Buffalo wasn't able to do a whole lot against it at all that game. And coming up with this play right here being one of the ways that we were able to shut down the offense, as we got Barmore here lined up on the interior. I think it was the left interior side of the defensive line going up against the right guard. You can kind of see it right now a little bit where that right guard is. You can kind of see him cutting into the right guard's left side or Barmore's right side, however you want to look at it. But as he meets the right guard of the Bills O-line, he's immediately able to brush the lineman off. And after doing so, was able to get pretty much a complete free rush. Had to move around a couple other linemen or some defenders against the linemen. Was able to, for the most part, get a complete solid rush towards the quarterback and just meets him head on as Allen is about to try to run out of the pocket, and is not only able to hold him there but bring him down to the sack with two other Patriot defenders. I think one of them Dietrich Wise. I can't remember the other one, but they were able to just completely maul Allen, just not even able to get anything going.
Yeah. I felt like, to give you a bit of context, Josh Allen under that offensive coordinator, he allowed so many turnovers, including interceptions and fumbles, because they were force feeding the balls to like Diggs and Davis, as we all know now. They're no longer with the Bills, which is why the Bills are now like a operating run the ball offense. But back then, Allen would definitely throw the ball, and the Patriots took advantage of that with the defense, which I feel like it looked really disgusting. I'm telling you.
But, yeah, it was definitely interesting how the Bills would always try to play Superman with Josh Allen, how he'd always want to be the guy that's like making the play. It really kind of backfired on him in a lot of games. I don't know if any of y'all really watch many of the Bills games. I watched a couple of them from time to time. As seeing the Bills are the only other team in the AFC East that I actually respect. But yeah, it was just sometimes he was just trying to play too much hero ball and not really actually trying to make the play when it was there. Instead, he was trying to do a little too much, hold on to the ball too long, wanting to run it around, wanting to make like the craziest play possible instead of just making like maybe taking a throwaway or bringing the ball in because he knew he was going to get sacked. Just some plays he really didn't need to try to do. He should have just done the safe play. He could have kept them in quite a few games, maybe even gotten further in the playoffs that way too.
Yeah, crap happens like that. But yeah, that exact game we won it by a hair. We should have not won. The Bills were this close to reverse sweeping us because the offense couldn't keep up, and plus the defense being the defense, it was just miserable of itself. But at the end of the day, we won that game thanks to the Gesicki touchdown. And yeah, we thought the NFL thought the Bills are done after that game. but let's now head over to the next week, and this was against the Dolphins at the Dolphins. And this one, this was when Tua had a prolific season. In spite of,
yeah, I'm pretty sure he was healthy this entire season too, wasn't he?
Yeah, but the supporting cast was
2022 when it was 2022. I believe he had that first concussion. 23 he had like perfect health, and in 24 he had another. I think he had another concussion or two.
Yeah, and that was against DeMar. I think it was against the Bills where he had that concussion. And but
and then that whole meme went around about the whole DeMar Hamlin getting flashbacks. Okay.
Yeah, but to give a context, it was against the Dolphins, and at that time, the Dolphins were thought to be the number one team in the AFC East until they fell back to earth towards the end of that season, as we all know. But in that game, that game didn't do us any favors, as we did lose Kendrick Bourne in that game, to give it a bit of context. But
yeah, we got here. Barmore is currently lined up. I think it's the far. Yeah, that's right. It was a 3-man rush, a 4th man coming up off the corner blitz. But as you got here, Barmore up on the right side of the defensive line. At the start of the play, Barmore was met immediately by not just one, but 2 offensive linemen. The right guard and the right tackle was kind of double teaming him for a short period of time. As it's starting, you can see right there, Barmore was starting a bit of a, if I remember correctly, that's a swim pass rush move. I could be wrong. I don't know my pass rush moves all that well. So if it's not right, please go easy on me. But he starts a little swim move going into the inside of the right guard and the right tackle. And as he's starting to get around him, you can see that corner coming off, starting to try his little rush, I guess trying to either get pressure on the QB or try to get the right tackle's attention, which he certainly did, was starting to get the right tackle's attention. And doing so, leaving a beat to the right guard. I mean, he wasn't able to do anything against Barmore, so he's able to get free and is able to just get a streamline down for Tua and was able to get an immediate, like, just standalone sack and just immediately bring him down. It was a pretty nice, satisfying play to watch.
Yeah. And I felt like we could have done more in that game, but the defense didn't do much up against Tyreek and Jalen Waddle because we all know the defensive line was okay, but the secondary didn't hold up as much as we thought we would. But it is what it is. Unfortunately, we lost that game, but next game I thought I was disappointed in that game, and I don't want to even talk about that game. This one was up against Washington, week 9 at home. And safe to say, this is one of Mac. Let me take a look at that play. This was on Fox NFL, and unfortunately, we're getting it from like the back angle because the other angle from this play was made. We had a hard time of seeing Barmore, but in this instance, you could see that Fox really highlighted Barmore in the center, going after, I think that was the center. And this was before Washington became the Washington that we now know, but
yeah, the start of the play, you can see here going up against the right tackle, the offensive line kind of shifted over to the left side. It's like the center and the whole left side kind of shifted over. So you see Barmore going straight up against the right guard, and as he's able to make contact, or as the right guard is able to make contact with Barmore's just easily able to shove him over and is able to get a little move over to the right side. As he gets that little in the gap right there, you can see the QB right there starting to throw in motion, and Barmore picks it up, knowing he's not going to get there in time. Gets that hand up, just completely bats that away like he's playing volleyball, and is completely able to stop a play. I'm not sure what receiver the QB was throwing to, but could have been a decent play had he got it off.
Yeah, I think I think this was Sam Howell at the time, but yeah,
it was.
I don't know if he was throwing. I don't know who the receivers were outside of Scary Terry, but we know at that time it was under Ron Rivera. The Commanders were not a good team at the time, so. And this was under a brand new ownership at the time, so it looks completely different under that ownership for the Washington Commanders. But yeah, we should have won that game, but that didn't help because the offense didn't produce much because of how bad the supporting cast was. And then we all know what happened in the next few games because we're going to be discussing the final clip that we're going to be discussing is against Denver on Christmas Eve because between weeks 10 and 15, we're all miserable. They were completely miserable. I didn't even want to look at those plays. But let's find that play. This was against Denver.
Yeah, it's about right here if you want to.
Yeah, I think this was this play. Yeah, this was the
one
play.
Right here. You got Barmore currently lined up at the left interior side. You can kind of see him a little bit right there. At the start of the play, Barmore is making contact with the right guard. And as you've seen from the start of the play, the right guard just didn't have a chance. he just got shoved around like he's a little twig. Like Barmore just didn't give him a chance. You could even see, like, if you want to play it just a little bit, I don't know if you can do slow-mo or not. But if you just do the play a little bit, stop right here. Look at the right guard. You can see him like he's being shoved to the ground. His knee is starting to touch the ground. Like he almost had his feet caught out underneath him. He was able to regain himself a little bit, but that just kind of shows you the strength and force that Barmore presents on the defensive line. Like, the dude is a big guy.
Yeah,
I think at this time in this season, he was around like a little over 300 pounds. I could be wrong. But the dude's a massive guy. He's quick. He's forceful. He is just bringing him down.
Yeah, he made Russell Wilson look like deer in the headlights because of that right guard. I think that was Quinn. I think it was that right guard who eventually got a first team or second team All-Pro as a right guard. But this was, I think, to give a bit of context, this was Sean Payton's first season as a Broncos head coach, as we all know. And I think this
Yeah,
was Russell Wilson's final season as a Denver Bronco. Because
yeah,
I'm telling
it was his one and only. Actually, no. I think Russell Wilson had 2 seasons in Denver
it
before
was
he
2
ended up getting
seasons.
cut.
But I think this
But
was his only season under Sean Payton.
no, Sean Payton's still coaching the Denver Broncos, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they still are. But I think the first season with the we'll discuss it later. But I felt like Russell Wilson lost a lot of it. He was not like what he used to be in Seattle. But
as you can see right there, he's able to get around the right guard with just complete ease. And
I thought he would get a safety out of it.
That's what it looked like at first. Like I was just like, wait a minute, did he get a safety on this play? Do I not remember this correctly? But Barmore just picks up Russell Wilson like he's a little kid, starts twirling him around a good 2 or 3 times, and finally brings him onto the ground. And it's like I think the play started at the 11 or 10 yard line and backs him all the way to either the 2 or 3. So it was roughly around like a 7 to 8 yard loss for them, and it brought up 4th down, so they had a kick from well into their own end zone.
Yeah, I really like that play, and especially in that game was Barmore's best game as a Patriot, because if I'm not mistaken, he had like 3 sacks in that game against Denver.
Yeah, there was actually one highlight afterwards. I was kind of maybe thinking of including this one as well, but I ended up not, considering it didn't result in the way I thought it would. But the next play I showed on the highlight reel was Barmore as well getting another sack on Russell Wilson. I think it was again on the right side or the left side of the interior line, if I remember correctly. And he gets past the right guard again. I think he got in between the right guard and right tackle and was able to swim across right towards Russell Wilson and brings him down. Or as Russell Wilson's starting to throw the ball, Barmore is able to make contact, and Russell just completely drops the ball as he's getting the throwing motion going. And Barmore's about to get it for a fumble recovery, but just isn't able to land it on time, and the Bronco picks it up.
Yeah. I was just gonna say that that game I felt like was one of Barmore's best games, and that was one of the reasons for why he got that contract. Now, currently, I think that it was a great decision for the Patriots to give him a contract regardless. So right now, this is like his first on his deal or second on his contract extension, because I know it was a 4 contract extension. I don't think they gave him like a 5th year option. So this was an immediate extension. I think that's what. Let me just look up that contract again. Contract extension. So that's gonna be it's gonna be through until the 2028 season. So this was his first under that new contract. So I'm really excited to see what Barmore can do, especially paired with Milton Williams, with Harold Landry, with Keon White, utilized properly for the Patriots under Terrell Williams. So this is going to be fun this upcoming season. By the way, guys, thank you as always for joining us. As always, we'll be doing another live stream tomorrow at 5 p.m. discussing some Braden Swinson and in that live stream we're going to be taking a look at Mike Reese's article, and hopefully we can find a couple of plays from Braden Swinson of why he is going to be destructible and why he's that day 3 hidden gem for the New England Patriots. But as always, please make sure that as you leave, please make sure that you smash the like button and hit subscribe. It's completely free and supports the channel in a massive way. And comment down below what was your favorite memory or favorite play from Christian Barmore's breakout season or any other impressive season. But as always,
if you're interested in watching the video where I got the highlights from, we'll have a link down there below in the description so you can check it out, and the timestamps as well if you want to check out the individual plays yourself or watch any other play on there. It's just like a 12, 13-minute video. So treat yourself. Remind yourself of how Barmore is a unit.
Exactly. And before we log off, we have some upcoming upcoming live streams after the Swinson live stream with me and Dustin. So we got me, Andy, Austin, and Dustin on Friday coming up discussing some Patriots positional grades. And then later we will be doing a second version of the 53-man roster, because now that the offseason is over heading towards training camp. There's a lot on the line right now. There's a lot of roster changes. The thing's getting heated up. So I'm really excited to see what the Patriots are going to be doing ahead of training camp. And hopefully Barmore can shine with pads on like the good old days. But that's going to be it for today's live stream. And as always, go Pats.
Go Pats.